during the keynote. We're going to go ahead and cover employee experience, just like Sam said. I want to go ahead and cover during this session our journey into HR, what we've been doing, what the trends are, how Zoho's responding, and how the new innovations with AI will work. If you have been using Zoho, people, since 2008, I don't think anyone here is that OG. You have used Recruit in 2009, and we build these applications up. We use Connect in 2013, and we slowly adopt other things that touch the employee experience. After we make all the things that, again, employees function on a day-to-day, we'll bundle them up at the very end, which was in 2019, into People Plus. So that's where we arrived today. So each year, each few years, we add something into the suite that directly touches an employee and makes their day-to-day a little bit easier and makes our job as HR just a little bit easier to manage, like intranets, expense reports, finances, passwords, and things like that. Now, the main thing in People Plus, these are the ones that people use the most. So for those of you that haven't been using our suite to its fullest extent, you can explore these applications. They're bundled in. They work together. That way, when you take someone from recruiting to hire, put them on a team, you actually get them added directly into Zoho Click. They'll be added to the right team in Zoho Vault. They'll be added to the right team in Zoho Connect. And everything just flows seamlessly for that person from, again, sourcing to tracking to hiring to onboarding and things like that. Now, if you joined us last year, you may remember this slide. It was 4 pillars. Now, the 4 pillars that we promised to deliver on, we'll be covering today as well. They're compliance. The U.S. is very compliance heavy when it comes to managing employee information, when it comes to, that hiring process. We'll talk about a few things there. Data privacy. What do we do after we hire the employee? How do we keep I-9s, W-4s, social security numbers, either private or restricted from other users? We'll talk about extendability, how we integrate with other payroll providers, how we may integrate with other applications. And then we have the AI layer. All these pillars make up the one thing that we're striving for, and that's the employee experience at a very high level. Now, there we go. Over the past years too, we have gotten quite a few awards trying to deliver on these promises. So those of you that are joining us now, we're actually in a transition period, I would say, within our HR suite to really drive a common mission and a goal. Like you had seen previous, it was putting these apps together in a way that would touch us on our day-to-day, but now it's how do we take all of it and actually make something that's useful that organizations could use cohesively to enforce all the pillars that we saw. So over those 4 years, or over the last couple of years, striving for this goal, we've been able to adopt customers from the enterprise space, all in different services, fast food, service delivery, and things like that. And you may notice these are primarily driven companies outside of the US. But again, we're going to take out some cool features that are relevant to the US today. So it's been tested. No matter what organization, big or small, our suite has been put through the paces, and the team has been doing an incredible job moving it forward. So again, 2025, the most recent year, this year, what are we doing in the US market to take this product suite and actually apply it to us? The most common complaint that I would work with every day is, one, how do I become more efficient at my job? I know a lot of folks are like, hey, it's a lot of data entry. It's a lot of validation. I have to go ahead and move PDF from here, signing from here. I'm doing a lot of stuff online and I'm trying to manage it all. So what we're taking care of in that area is the pre-onboarding and onboarding, which Eric will cover in Recruit and Broth will cover in People. And how do we apply AI to that? Whether that's giving you access to understand and talk to AI on like, hey, what's this candidate status? What are my risks here? If you're managing, people that are interviewing or managing a third party with Recruit staffing, you can just get a high level view of what's going on there. We also allow you to talk to the candidate directly through the candidate portal. That was something that previously wasn't given, but also allows you to do learning courses before that person is hired to validate what's going on, and then the assessments that can all be done online. So now it takes all the repetitive busy work that you may do for a hire that will take the same role, and maybe you hire that same role 3 times a year. You can set up a package and just take care of that all together. So now you become like the overseer, and people in our people suite will take them from, like I mentioned, recruiting, tracking, hiring, onboarding, just through the whole process. The other thing that a lot of folks wanted was the I-9 and W-4 forms. They commonly weren't here. It was a answer of, hey, we don't have it. You can use Zoho Sign. You can use DocuSign. We can integrate with those, send them out there. It often became a friction point when onboarding an employee or recruiting an employee. That's now here. So yeah, I don't know if anybody had struggled with that. But yeah, we'll have the I-9 forms built in. We'll also have the W forms built in. It's crucial for compliance. These forms now do not live in a third party. They live within Zoho. They live within Zoho people. On top of that, since they live within Zoho people and we use the same infrastructure that is ISO certified, SOC certified, on top of the e-signature platform, it is now something that you can do built in and not worry about any compliance issue as you onboard that employee. Now, the other side of that coin is offboarding, which is a new feature. I wanted to go and touch on it is how do I make sure when that person is leaving my organization that I get all of the exit interviews completed, that I make sure they return their devices, that I make sure that they're disabling applications. If we have someone that's working as, again, like I-9, how do I go through that process? So the onboarding module will go ahead and take care of that. That way you can actually see the status of that individual and you can put in compliance measures to make sure these things are getting done. That way you don't have any surprises or you don't have a situation where you can't provide transparency to another individual on, hey, I haven't gotten this phone back or I haven't got this laptop back. What's the status of this employee as they leave the organization? You can even see here, it gives the employee their last pay slip. It gives them the last PDF documents. If you've made a, I don't want to say everyone signs an NDA. If you've done NDAs or non-competitive clauses, they get access to it too. So the employee also now has visibility into what are they actually, when this disconnect, what resources do I have to move forward? And what does the company explicitly say for me during this disconnect? The other thing we do have is the confirmation within probation during the onboarding process, which is how will we go ahead and actually I probably should describe what's on the screen because I know it's a brand new feature. So essentially when you onboard or have somebody in probation, you want to have them, we'll say 90 days. We want to apply different rules to this individual. We want to validate that they completed the rules we had, whether that be being on time every single day, no late, or they aren't allowed to take vacation. If they do take vacation, it gets approved. That's a red flag. We want to make sure they filled out all their documents within the 90 days. And then after that, if they want to go full on in payroll from I-9 to W-4, we can go ahead and do that. Now, what that looks like for you, those are the settings, but what it looks like for you guys on a day-to-day, it allows you to see all that. So you can actually see, oh, this is the initial probation period on the top, and then it gets extended for 3 more months. So if anything does come up that is against the rules, invalid, hey, they didn't meet all the criteria, but we want to keep them as an employee, we'll continue that. And you'll notice it gives you and your managers a good idea of exactly the status of that employee as we get them through the process of being a full-time employee. There we go. Beyond that, like I mentioned, if you set up criteria, the easiest one I use is attendance and leave. You can actually see, hey, the attendance, he showed up or needed to show up for 50 days. He's got 30 that have been completed and 20 that are still pending. That may be an approval process. You also have total leave taken. So you can, again, set up all these criterias, validate against it, have a status of what's going on instead of compiling reports and compiling the time tracker module plus the leave module plus all these modules and going, did they proceed with all the rules that we set up during the probationary period? On top of that, within the new hires, we have career planning. Career planning is super useful because it gives transparency for that employee to know, hey, I want to join this organization, and it's not a black box of what am I going to do next year or the second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year. It allows you to set up a ladder that that's a really bad one, a lattice that they can navigate within your organization. And you can set that up here. Now, the key component that I typically talk about for this feature is being allowed to exercise the LMS that we just talked about, the learning module. You can also use the review module to influence this. So I know I talk about the career planning as if it's a disconnected function, but again, we're taking the layers that we've previously had, and you may have been here last year during Zoholics, and we apply them in a way that provides a better employee experience. So we take all these things, we set up, hey, this is what you need to do. You'll see skill development, cross-functional projects, things like that. They all make up a core function of that person accomplishing something in their career as they proceed and stay with your organization. Again, we added a compliance thing here, the California overtime law. That was a highly requested feature for folks in that state. I guess for folks that don't work in California, this slide's not for you, but for the very specific audience member that raised their hand, this one's for you. But yeah, we added that. I'll skip it because it's not part of the group. Another big one is time and attendance. A lot of people requested, hey, you have projects, you have time and attendance, but my clients can't get any transparency review and what's going on. And there was always the question of, hey, how do we do we do that in projects? Do we do it in projects? And then we have attendance and people. This doesn't really make sense. For me as an HR manager, I now have to be a project manager. And I can't just have labor being counted against or labor being put against the hours of my employee. So now the time and attendance has external client portal for approvals and reports. That way, when you're managing that labor, you can actually have them complete a project. And it could sync in from Zoho projects, but it allows you to give that information to your clients. So it's no longer you taking and compiling something from projects, something from people, finding profitability, finding your run rate and your burn rate. All of it can be exposed to you and your clients. Go over time here. When it comes to strengthening workforce management, as we go through, so a lot we talked about is like HR and how it impacts us on a day-to-day or our clients. When it comes to impacting the employee, we allow people to have the people planning. It allows us to be able to look at somebody and understands a holistic picture, who works for them, who are they working for, how often do they work, what are their hours and things like that. Again, I want to say this a million times. We had all the tools in our toolbox, but they were scattered throughout people, and those who have used the product understood that. But now again, we're bringing a cohesive experience. That way you can see this chief support manager. Who is it? We have 3 job openings open. We want to hire some more people for this specific role. That department has X amount of employees. This person is a remote job. You're going to see everything you need to see from, again, the people or the role that we're trying to hire for. And then we have the position management, being able to see who's next in line. So I know the career planner was a very singular focused thing. This person works in this role, they move on. You may have the same person in the same role on the same career track. So you can actually take all those things and make metrics, set everything up and say, hey, this person is next in line because they actually have all the career things checked, all the check boxes here. It does give you transparency into that. So when you have a situation where you do open a new role, you can find those who may fill it quickly internally prior to going outside and using Recruit. On top of that, we have an easy way to view that information. You can even see the corporate organization structure a lot easier than we used to. For those that use it, it was left to right. It was kind of hard to read, but now you get the top down hierarchy, which is great. On top of the position management, when you go through that process, allowing someone or a manager to ask for more people in that role, it becomes an approval process. This currently didn't exist. Now it exists. People in the past may have had to make a custom form. Now it's built in. So everything is now getting anchored to the employee in the role and allows me as a manager to go ahead and make that request. And you as HR saying, no, there's plenty of people here. We're not expanding the organization. You can't request it. And you can leave a comment when you reject of why that occurred. So it is really easy to do. When we come in succession planning, so again, bringing it all together, if you're offboarding somebody from a role and you want to actually fulfill that role again, you may have seen all the pieces that I gave you are already there. This puts it in easy. So I can say, hey, this person's leaving. Who's going to fill their role? Not this person's leaving. Let me go check the career path. Let me go check who's good. This allows me to see in one easy view who the incumbent is, which would be Christopher, but then underneath, who else would be a good candidate. It even tells you, like I mentioned, if we're leveraging all the modules and people, why they're a good candidate, because their performance reviews are good, because they have a good amount of experience. Matthew has those plus the skills. So he's been using our LMS and getting certified. So it allows you to be able to see as HR, if you're working in a large organization, this person's leaving, how do I fill it? A lot of people wanted that because we focused really hard on, again, the recruitment side. Fulfilling within the organization typically has a lower amount of cost of human capital to train and get them up and running. Now, I've been talking about the OKRs and KPIs and, learning and all those things. It comes back to setting a mission for the organization. You set up objectives for your people, and then you have the KPIs that they'll obtain to get to those objectives. This is how we currently have it set it up. We currently are moving to this. That way you can actually have a results-driven structure as people take these tests and as people get these reviews. We enforce the SMART goals, which I think we've probably heard this quite a bit, that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. That way, it's not a situation where you are just telling somebody, work harder, get better at whatever. You can actually use your OKRs to say, you should get better at sales or lead development. And I think you should get better in 6 months. And that accomplishment can be put into the objective, and all of a sudden, like we just saw, I can be in line for a career promotion. When we talk about making it smart, you now have a dashboard that puts numbers and percentages on weights. You can also see the individual is on track to get that time. So, like I mentioned previous, we had a situation in people where it was all there, but not transparent. So now you can open something up and see all the skill levels of the organization and your employees, and then understand, are they accomplishing what we set out to at the beginning of the year or the quarter? On top of that, one thing I always mention is the percentile, the weight or the percentile of progress. If you have multiple variables or multiple skills that person wants to accomplish, it's not as if 3 skills are 33% of my goal. You can set it up to say this skill is 10%, this other skill is 60%, and the last skill is 30%. So that's a little tidbit we're not going to talk about. Broth will talk about it, but it allows me to get a lot of transparency there. Now, a huge one that people typically talk about is benefits management. Is anyone looking at benefits management or Zoho to resolve that for them? Or are we currently using like Paylocity or Paychecks or anything like that? Okay. The other thing we do have, though, is compensation management. I will plug this one because payroll, I think I could state it now, is supported in 50 states and also supports multi-state. So payroll previously, for those that had looked at it and said, this is not it, totally understand. I work here, I know. We didn't have it at the moment. But yeah, as of, I believe now and in our near future, you can set up payroll, use it in multiple states, and follow all compliance legal regulations that your state may have. Because of that, we now aligned that compensation management, which should be related to your bonuses and payroll, and you can now manage it in people. Now, a lot of people say, why would I do that? I already have, again, a different payroll provider. I usually say it's a balance, and we'll talk about extensibility. A lot of folks use people and do the payroll management in people, and then they handle we'll say retirement, dental insurance, and things outside of people, because that's typically through a different corporate provider or an umbrella of benefits. So if you want to use benefits, that's cool. You can meet me after thing, and I'd love to talk about it. But compensation is usually the approach I'll take with that. Now, when we think through the fun stuff of an HR platform, kudos and recognition is the ability for us to look at the review and give thumbs up to our peers. So at the very, very beginning, you may have realized we have Zoho Connect. Zoho Connect is an intranet that allows me to communicate with my peers and give badges and things like that. But again, that was like disconnected from the suite. So now People Plus takes it all, puts it in. So now I can get transparency and I can work with my peers and congratulate them when they do get certified in something or when they do accomplish something in their career. It's no longer the career's over here and I'm done. And then I give them a kudos in a different application. We bundle it up all in one little package. So now you can have a feed and see, what your team's up to. If you have a large team that's remote, everyone can still stay connected all within Zoho People. Um, Perfect. So on top of the payroll information that I just mentioned, it actually tells you and can give you an idea of, based on their appraisal and how they're reviewing it, how high should their raise be. So if you do want to make it very pragmatic, you do have the ability to set up rules to say this amount is this percentage this year, this amount or this rating is this percentage. When you use and you put all these things together, this kind of brings it all home. When you use the entirety of the application, you can get sentiment scoring. You can understand who's at a high risk for leaving based on their performance. Typically, those who are less engaged with an organization, whether that be through the internet posts, through engagement with our peers, not skilling up, not getting good reviews, that allows you to see pretty much, are they, again, like NPS, are they a good person, a good employee, or are they at risk? Um, there we go. And to take it off here, and all the elements that make up that dashboard, like I mentioned, late checking in, not accomplishing goals, taking high amounts of leave, they're all red flags. Like I mentioned before, and I'll say it again, all these were modules that were in People, but we want to bring it together because what do those things mean? They mean you might have a high risk employee that's leaving. So now we build in the employee attrition. Beyond that, we have our LMS. Well, I guess anybody interested in LMS in depth? Oh, okay, guys. Okay. So we have the LMS. We're providing a lot of support, bringing in videos, tracking the videos, tracking tests, seeing progression around that. Those that have tried to use it or gave it a look, previously the answer was no, we don't see if they actually watch the video. They just take a test. And if they pass the test, they pass the test. Now we're adding things into the LMS that, one, take care of compliance, and then two, actually make it fun and not make it seem like it's obligation of your job. Now, if that's including the badges and the points, the more videos you watch, the more tests you complete, even if it's 5 minutes, you can see your badges on somebody's profile. Like I mentioned, we're going to have SCORM compliance, the completion status, pass, fail, time spent. So now you're going to see all the details and what a true LMS should have done, but now it's built directly into Zoho People, the PHR suite. So now you can actually, like I said, keep everyone in Zoho People. Like I mentioned, extensibility, last pillar. If you're using a different payroll, if you're using a different communication platform like WhatsApp, or if you're using Slack, feel free to integrate with any of these. They're all out of the box. Zoho People does also offer a custom API. So if you do have any really hard challenges or a benefit provider, like I mentioned, that you just can't get out of, but you'd love to use People, yeah, you can always chat with me or Barath, and we'd love to, see if that's feasible and take care of it. Again, shameless plug. Zoho Payroll in the US just came out. Like I mentioned, multi-state, also supported in the 50 states. So anyway, AI is the last pillar, and Raju shows some really neat stuff within the last keynote for Zoho CRM. You also have a lot more in-depth AI with Shujita. That'll be tomorrow. But just to skim off the top, nice little things that I like to talk about within People, that it's going to be AI-led. What that means is it will get you information when you want the information. It's not going to be a situation where it's in the weeds and trying to find trends. It's not sales. It's not going to try to find something or put its nose anywhere it doesn't need to be just for the sake of compliance. The reason we want to make it that is because it shouldn't be a situation where it's always in your face. It should be a situation where it's personal to you and it helps you when you need help. What that means is if you're HR and you have to or you're the manager and you're managing people down, you can ask it questions about your team and you can get information back. But also, if you're an employee or someone going through the recruitment or onboarding process, they can ask questions about, hey, when does this need to get done? typically how long does this last, or how long is the onboarding process, and it will give that information to them. So it's not a one size fits all situation. In this scenario, it's how do we go ahead and take the AI and implement it well, one, remaining compliant, but also making sure people are getting the information they want and they need. And like I mentioned, they're going to go over that in a little bit more depth in each session. Myself, thank you.